All right, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat KRISHNA Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace Sri ADVAITA Acharya Vanacari, and all glories to our Samuel Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. Today is Wednesday, my favorite day of the week. It says Wednesdays are the most perfect days for work productivity. Well, Prabhupada is here. Monday through Sunday are all equally productive days in the eyes of Shri Guru and Krishna. Prabhupada, we miss you, and Happy New Year. Happy New Krishna Conscious Years to you. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen. In case you want to share something also, we can give you the rights. So you may share.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I might try to share. I have something open, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. You put the screen up, the verse.
Yes. Hold on for a minute.
Meanwhile, I'll do Mangalacharan.
Yeah, you can do Mangalacharan.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur-litam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano-bhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Supatantikam Vandeham Siguro Shri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurung Vaishnavansya Shri Rupam Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Bharijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sivishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So today, after quite a long few months of absence from the Africa platform, I've managed to get back a schedule, and thanks to my friend Sahadev Prabhu and also my friends in the West African Yatra, Shalika Prabhu and everyone else. And I'm happy to be back and hope that I can keep it up on Wednesdays, on and off. It's been a really difficult, not difficult, but challenging or busy year for me, quite busy year for me, in the sense that we're studying for the Bhaktivedanta course, which is quite taxing. We reached the 10th canto. And also, systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam in Mauritius twice a week, and then Gita classes, and so on and so forth. And a few engagement with the VIHE taking me to some other countries doing small and large courses. But it's always a pleasure to come back to the Africa platform, because I was just reflecting on it today, just a few words of appreciation, that this has been going on for some years now, which means that And my realization on it is because it is related to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is as authorized as a Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the age of Kali. In effect, just a few words of appreciation and glorification for this platform is very well due, so I will take a minute or two and your indulgence. When the Acharyas interpret the verse that Lord Chaitanya appeared, Krishnavaranam Tvisa Krishnam Sangha Upanga Astra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Pire Jadahi Sumedasa, the Acharyas explain that the Astra, which means the weapon that Lord Chaitanya comes with, is the holy name of Krishna. But that's not complete. The Acharyas explain Astra is plural, which means that he comes with the holy name of Krishna and the Srimad Bhagavad Puran and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we may also recall in this glorification that Lord Chaitanya, yes, he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement to a large extent around India through his travels, and also in his Gambhira, in his deep association with devotees in Jagannath Puri. But daily, Lord Chaitanya held sanghas where devotees were discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. And among the Pandits were his own secretaries, Swarup Damodar, Nari Sarkar, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, there was Gadadhar Pandit always. And it is said that one of the pastimes that Lord Chaitanya enjoyed the most hearing and discussing regularly was Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. So we don't seem to sometimes pay much attention to this, but it's a fact. And he started with the conversion of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That was he went to learn Vedanta, which is essentially commentaries of Bhakti, commentaries on Brahma Sutras or Vedanta Sutras, which was given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Lord Chaitanya did not quite appreciate it. He said, I can easily understand because the commentaries on Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. But your explanations are obscure. And he kind of chastised. And in this way also converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and established the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he later also, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, said that the commentaries of Siddhar Swami is authoritative, and he bowed and paid obeisances in his mind to Siddhar Swami of the 14th century, whose commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam marked the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhantas, and the commentaries later followed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswamis, all of those taken into consideration the authorized explanations of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was endorsed by Lord Chaitanya. So this is going on. So he kind of led us in the right direction, how to study Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why this platform is going to go on, because it's authorized by the Supreme Lord. As much as the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and I'm happy to be back on it. Don't want to miss the train. If it goes too fast, too far, won't be able to jump back on it. So, much appreciated. And I'm also saying that also in view of my service, which I'm doing. It's just, I'm saying it as a point of encouragement, nothing to announce from my side. And that devotees in Mauritius also, we're conducting systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm going to be launching a third one on Monday. And several devotees have enrolled. And similarly, I have many friends around the world who are also thinking now to engage into systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Africa platform, the Hare Krishna Africa platform, has been leading on. So much appreciation. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So today the verse I'm had the great opportunity and the good fortune to read from is the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 15, entitled The Description of the Kingdom of God, and text 17. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Utama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Tasmin Nityamunaya Sadasa Jamana Kaksha Samana Vayasavata Saptamayam Devavachakshata Grihita Gadoparadhyo Keyura Kundala Kirita Vikantavesho. Synonyms. Tasmin, in that Vaikuntha. Atitya, after passing through. Munnayaha, great sages. Sat, 6. Asajjamanaha, without being much attracted. Kakshaha, walls. Samana, equal. Vayaso, age. Atha, thereafter. Saptamayam, at the 7th gate. Devo, to Vaikuntha dormant. Achakshata, saw. Grihita, carrying. Gado, maces. Paradhya, most valuable. Keyura, bracelets. Kundala, earrings. Kirita, helmets. Vitanka, beautiful. Vesha, garments. Translation. After passing through the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all, the decorations they saw at the 7th gate, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations, they saw at the 7th gate 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc. Purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The sages were so eager to see the Lord within Vaikuntha Puri that they did not care to see the transcendental decorations of the 6 gates, which they passed one after another. But at the 7th door, they found 2 doormen of the same age. The significance of the doormen being of the same age is that in the Vaikuntha planets, there is no old age, so one cannot distinguish who is older than whom. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha are decorated like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, conch, wheel, club, and lotus. Hare Krishna. So this is happening in Chakshusha Manvantara. And this is in relationship to the sudden darkness that descended over the universe. And this is happening in the Brahma Kalpa, which means in the first Kalpa of the Chakshusha Manvantara, which means the period of Manu, the interval of Manu that preceded this one where we are at this moment. So there was a sudden darkness and everyone was afraid. And the demigods were utterly confused and they consulted Lord Brahma. I think you've been studying this. And they wanted to alleviate the fear that they experienced because they've never seen something like that. And specifically, this is in Satyuga, at the very beginning of the Brahma Kalpa, the first Kalpa of the Manvantara. And Lord Brahma explained to the demigod that these strange omens were because of the inauspicious pregnancy of DT and the wife of Kashyapa Muni. And Lord Brahma explained that the two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, who are servants of the Lord, they were cursed by the four Kumaras to come down to the material world. And those two personalities were so ferocious that even while being in the womb, they were able to influence the environment in a very inauspicious way. And then Lord Brahma was explaining to them that because of the curse of the four Kumara sages, these two most powerful personalities have now taken the form of demons to terrorize humankind. So many points are raised by the acharyas in this very beautiful episode, and I will just go over them one by one, and we lay out a certain narrative over this, because there's a lot of questions in these 3-4 verses. So first of all, what was the thing that made the Kumaras go there? It was a jigyasa. They had an inquisitiveness. How did they develop that inquisitiveness? They had developed that inquisitiveness because they were essentially jnanis, very much addicted to knowledge, very much addicted to the speculative process. But because their father was Lord Brahma, they've been hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because they were free, endowed with great mystic power, and they lived in an era where such personalities, they were living in Janalo, not like us here in the local environment. And therefore, they had immense powers. So after hearing from their father, they had desired to enter Vaikuntha, the abode of the Lord. And how come this desire had come in the heart of the Kumaras? Because they were really absorbed in Brahman. They were completely absorbed in Brahman, which meant they had a sense of complete satisfaction, shanti, peace, joy, and they were not in search for anything. Well, the reason behind such desire was that the Kumaras had the opportunity to repeatedly hear the glories of the Lord and glories of Vaikuntha from Lord Brahma. So they had this jigyasa, which means this inquisitiveness. Just like we devotees become inquisitive in our path of devotional service, or even out from the secular world, we hear and we see about the Hare Krishnas and we become inquisitive. We say, well, let's go and see what's going on. The temple, they have music, they have dance, and we hear they have prasad. So we become inquisitive. Right? So they were generally, now one of the point here is they were generally devoid of material desires. Because the Kumaras are taken as example of Atmarama Bhaktas. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained, I think in first canto, chapter 7, text 10. Atmarama is described as Atmaramas Chamunnayor Nirgrantya Puruprume Kurvantim Ahitukim Bhaktim Itambuto Guno Hari. Sudha Goswami had said that all different varieties of Atmaramas means those who take pleasure in the self, because they're connected to their own deep sense of realization of being Brahman. So they don't identify with the body, the mind, and the senses. They identify as spirit souls, and this identification gives us immense joy. So therefore, they become very happy. They don't seek or search for anything. So they're established on this path of self-realization, and they are free from all kinds of material bondage. But still, the desire to render devotional service unto the Supreme Lord is a higher value objective, which even the Atmaramas seek. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya has explained this Atmarama verse in so many ways in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a whole chapter on the Atmarama verse. So this means that the Lord possesses qualities that are completely transcendental and even attract those who are completely devoid of all material sense gratification, devoid of bodily conception of life, devoid of any attraction to, material sense enjoyment. and completely satisfied being situated on the transcendental platform of Brahman, they can still seek the service of the Lord. So, okay, so even if they seek the service of the Lord, now the question may arise, are the Kumaras really qualified to enter Vaikuntha? Because so far, they have entered up to they have passed through 6 gates. And each of the 6 gates, they also had Dwarpal, they also had security press personnel, or they had doorkeepers. So we may wonder, they're Gyanis, the Brahma Gyanis. So we may wonder different things. We may wonder, are they qualified to enter through the doors of Vaikuntha at that instant? They did manage to go number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Because we have read earlier in the maybe 3, 4 verses prior that those jivas who are not inclined to hear about the glories of the Vaikuntha planets and the glories of the Supreme Lord, and rather if they are absorbed in mundane topics, they are excluded from entering the Vaikuntha planets. So yes, the Kumara boys, they were eager to hear about, because at that time they had attained that kind of jigyasa, that kind of inquisitiveness after hearing from their father repeatedly. So they thought, well, I just walk up there and see what's there. What's there? So yes, so they had developed some desire, but they had no bhakti, no? They were in the platform of jnana. Surely they were not attracted to mundane topics, not being attached to their bodily conception of life, but surely also they were not so much developed a relationship. And they didn't have a conception of, I want to be a servant of the Supreme Lord. But jnanis, when they start to hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, they can develop an appreciation of the greatness of the Supreme Lord. They can develop an appreciation of the greatness, and they can appreciate and they can eulogize the Supreme Lord without having a sense of mamata, affection for him. But at least they're appreciating, just like one can appreciate, oh, this president of such and such country is great. You can eulogize, you can appreciate, you can, even fantasize a meeting with him and what did you say and so on and so forth, without even having a relationship. Though this is very much a question of shantarati, neutral stage of bhakti, where we have no sense of wanting to serve the Lord, but appreciation of the greatness of the Aishwarya, of the opulence of the Supreme Lord is very much, can very much become a part of our character, even though we may be in Brahman. So this may be, according to the Acharyas, some desire of the Kumaras. So therefore this word starts tasmin. Therefore, that word tasmin is starting in this verse. This word is commented. That's why I am also bringing it up. This word is commented by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he said, therefore, tasmin means therefore, ataha saptamayam, after going through the 7th gate or the 6th gate, reaching the 7th gate, right? They actually are able to come there because of their desire to want to hear about the Supreme Lord. But that in itself doesn't qualify. So we're first asking, do they qualify to reach there? So then what would have qualified them to actually attain there? Because this is not a one isolated example. This is one isolated example, but it gives a lot of lessons. If this is not properly explained by the acharyas, then the Gyanis can also claim that I can go to Vaikuntha because the Kumaras were there. And they were Gyanis, they were Brahma Gyanis. So then we may then ask the questions, what would have qualified them to actually reach up to the 7th gate of Vaikuntha, having crossed the 6th gate of Vaikuntha already? We can ponder the following questions, no? So were they in a mood of passive appreciation of the greatness of Lord, which is Shantaras? Had they already become Shanta Bhaktas, or were they just Gyanis? The acharyas are putting these questions. And if they had become Shanta Bhaktas, a Shanta Bhakta can very, very well go to Vaikuntha. and become a tree, become a cow, become a plant. Why not? Because he appreciates the greatness of the Supreme Lord. He is beyond the bodily conception of life. Doesn't have a desire to serve, but has a desire to appreciate. And therefore, this is an essential characteristics of a devotee in neutrality, Shanta Rasa. So we can ask, were they Shanta Bhaktas? Or were they Brahma Gyanis, like very much situated in Brahman, great Gyanis, but had they developed enough enough relationship with the Lord? Was that enough eligibility? Have they developed the eligibility, what we call the adhikar, to enter Vaikuntha? Why am I bringing these points? Because they were stopped. So it helps us understand how did they reach there and why were they stopped? Or were they simply allowed because on account of, like they're young children? So, okay, so for example, a young child, will walk uncuffed and, unprepared, and he can just walk in, some great saints are giving talk, and he can just walk in because they're children and they act a little bit without discrimination of time, place, and circumstance. And therefore, was it because of that they were just allowed, okay, kids just going, okay, let them go through? Was it just that? So you can ask then, are kids allowed in Vaikuntha? It's very interesting, isn't it? Or would the 6 gatekeepers allow them because they were exalted in senior Brahmana sages? Well, the question to all of these is very dubious. It's very difficult to understand that what made them come there. So then we can ask the question, how did the Kumaras reach up to the 7th gate then? Right? Have they overstepped etiquette? Because we hear and we read that even Lord Brahma, when he goes to Karya Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntha in the material planet, where Lord Vishnu has his abode as an embassy, actually the demigods, the devatas, and Lord Brahma, when they go, they're heard. They have an audience with the Supreme Lord, they're heard, but they don't step down and they don't put their feet on Vaikuntha, Karya Vaikuntha, which means the Vaikuntha, which is like the embassy in the spiritual world where it is Sweta Dupa Vishnu Loka. So they don't actually step down. But here these boys seems to not pay sufficient reverence and careful etiquette to enter Vaikuntha. So I will just read something. And he said the main acharyas on this point, Siddhar Swami, who was recommended by Lord Chaitanya, and also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is one of the main acharyas who have commented on Srimad Bhagavatam. And much of the commentaries written by our Srila Prabhupada is taken from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Jiva Goswami is also explained in Krama Sandarbha, which is step-by-step explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, our own Srila Prabhupada. They have taken different angles to explain how come these 2 boys reach the 7th platform of Vaikuntha, 7th gate of Vaikuntha. And in here, the different angles to explain the Leela of the Kumaras entering the 7th gate of Vaikuntha and why they were being stopped by Jay and Vijay. So there's several comparative view on this. Because you can say, why were they stopped? Well, maybe Jay and Vijay were right. They should have been stopped because they were not devotees per se. They were not dressed properly. They were children. So, but even then, this is a place of high reverence. Vaikuntha, you can't just walk in. So the acharyas have spilled or spent a lot of ink on this. And therefore, we will just discuss a little bit of these points. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I'm reading here, he postulates that the Kumaras reaching up to the 7th gate of Vaikuntha was the arrangement of Yoga Maya. Okay. Yoga Maya, which means that the secretary of the Lord who arranges his pastimes. That she had arranged for the Kumaras to reach the 7th gate of Vaikuntha. And it is explained that, and this is explained in the text 26, which you read yesterday, possibly. Yeah. And in that verse, it is said that they reached there because that was an arrangement of Yogamaya acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the sages were verily, effectively, kind of arranged to get there, and knowing, albeit unknown to us or unknown to the gatekeepers, that actually it was an arrangement of Yogamaya. Why? Acharyas explained that in the verse, the word used is Tad Vishwaguru Adi Kritam, which is the verse 26. He said, because the Lord here is described as Vishwaguru Adi Kritam Bhuvaneika Vandyam, that describing the Kumara's trip to Vaikuntha, that they had not reached there by their own powers, but upon receiving the power of the Lord, the Shakti of the Lord, through Yogamaya. Yogamaya Bali, through the, it is explained in that verse in the third line. Apuhu param udam uparvam upetya yogamaya Bali, in the text 26, the previous text, that they had come there by the arrangement of Yogamaya and by the strength of Yogamaya, not by their own qualification. So these are the questions we were putting before. So it means that the Lord had bestowed his mercy through the agency of Yogamaya and given them the strength so that they can come there. Why? Tad Vishwaguru, because the Lord wanted to act as their spiritual master to educate them in the path of devotional service. It's quite interesting. And that's the verse 26, if you read. You can put that verse up, Prabhu, the previous verse. I'm sure devotees have spoken very at length on this, but just to, if you have it, if you don't, it's okay, we can move on. But the text 26, it says here, it is said here, Tad Vishwaguru Adi Kritam, by the teacher of the universe. By the teacher of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why is the Supreme Lord described as the teacher of the universe? Because he brought in the boys so that he can educate them. And they were brought by Yogamaya, you see here, Yogamaya Bali, by the spiritual potency, by the influence of Yogamaya. So that was some other aspects we are discovering in this verse. Okay? The Srila Prabhupada, on the other hand, commenting on this verse 27, which we are studying, okay, you can take that out, Prabhu. Yeah. Or 27. He says that the sages reach there, the transcendental spiritual sky, by dint of their own mystic power. And Prabhupada in the purport here, it says that the perfection of the yoga system, the rishis, the four Kumaras, but that is not in the purport. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting on the same verse, he states that Vaikuntha is described as being under the control of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord being Vishwaguru means that he's a guru of the universe, indicating that the Lord had made arrangement through Yogamaya to bring the Kumaras to Vaikuntha to teach them bhakti. Right? And this is being emphasized here. Okay. So it seems that this Leela, this pastime of the Kumaras, is being also reinforced by the desire of the Supreme Lord to bring these great sages here, because they were quite special personalities. They were the most senior in the universe. They were the eldest sons of Lord Brahma, and they were highly qualified. And therefore, the Lord wanted to educate them. Okay? So now, they were stopped. Because they were stopped, which we will see in the next verses. We will deal with that a little bit to understand this verse's particular emphasis. Because why I'm doing this commentary is here, because this verse 26 and 27 are the central verses explaining the Leela. these pastimes of the Kumaras getting to Vaikuntha. So now they were stopped by the two gatekeepers. They were stopped by the two gatekeepers, and therefore we will analyze now. So far, the Kumaras had crossed the 6 gates. What does the 6 gate represent? The 6 gates represent the different opulences of the Lord, but the 7th gate required bhakti. So in one sense, they were stopped, rightly so, because they could not go beyond the 7th gate. So when they saw the two gods, Jai and Vijay, they were holding clubs, right? And by the arrangement of Yogamaya, these two were seen to be a little bit out of countenance, a little bit kind of not sure about themselves, and showing reddish nose and eyebrow raised, as if influenced by some kind of modes of nature which were meant to be absent at the 7th gate of Vaikuntha. Right? And this incident happening at the 7th gate is very telling. It is not just like they haven't already reached Vaikuntha, but they have reached the outer borders of Vaikuntha, having crossed the 6 gates, and they're at the 7th gate. So the Kumaras noticed the countenance of the two famous doorkeepers. That was questionable. And their eyes were unusually reddish. The faces were slightly disturbed with anger. And they were kind of breathing a little bit heavily. So as the Kumaras came in the presence of the gatekeepers, they were kind of blocked. You know, the two staffs were put like this in front of them, and they were stopped in a very displeasing way. And therefore, this brought out a little bit of the inconvenience, which actually transformed into anger of the 4 Kumaras against these 2 gatekeepers. And the question they remarked is, hey, aren't there supposed to be some kind of a harmony here in this service? How is it that they saw such disharmony? Now, other acharyas comment that this is happening because the Lord had 2 other points here beside this, that this is a whole pastimes being arranged by the Supreme Lord. First, Yogamaya, and whose expansion is Rama, which means Lakshmi, who is a consort of Lord Narayan or Vishnu, and she being the sort of the wife of Lord Vishnu, who had kind of put into action the creation of the universe, Yogamaya also wanted the Lord to go and visit the material creation. So therefore, she had arranged for the boys to come here and obviously be, have a kind of a small undue contact with the gatekeepers, and then the incident to follow, and then they will go down, and then they will have these pastimes. But it is said by the acharyas that the desire of Yogamaya was not fully independent, that the Lord also wanted to go down, but the Lord had a separate desire to go down to the material world, which later on Lord Vishnu will come and kill Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And he said that the 2 gatekeepers, interestingly, these 2 gatekeepers, which is Hiranyaksha, which is Jai and Vijay, sorry, I'm kind of taking it a little bit too forward. The 2 gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, they had also noticed a certain desire in the heart of the Lord, and he was itching. The Lord was itching to have some kind of a sportsmanship or sportsman-like big fight with some really powerful personalities, but that in the material world there was none. So therefore, the Lord's desire was like, and I mean, it was not satisfied, and of course, the Lord desire. It's not that the Lord has a desire that it is like a material desire, but still the Lord has desires for Leela. But these 2 doorkeepers, they had noticed that the Lord possibly had the desire to enter into some kind of a sportsmanship like match, fight with powerful personalities. And therefore, the gatekeepers had noticed a desire in the heart of their Lord to engaging in sporting fights with properly matched adversaries. And this desire for exhibiting kind of this sporting mood to enjoy Virya Rasa, heroic mood, wasn't being so nicely fulfilled. So Jay and Vijay held a secret desire in their heart to please and satisfy their beloved Lord by offering him the opportunity of such great battles. So all this is like being, the scenario is being written, Yogamaya on one side, the desire of Jai Vijay on the other side, the desire of the Lord on the other side. And the Lord Brahma having spoken on a long period of time about the Supreme Lord, has created the desire in the heart of the Kumaras to enter the Vaikuntha planets. So all that is coming together. And it's very much so because actually most of the pastimes of the Lord, they're like very intricate and intricately woven into a scheme of things according to the desire of the Lord. Even though the jivas also have independence to enter some kind of a service or relationship with the Supreme Lord, as it is explained here, the desires of Jaya and Vijay. So how is it that therefore they reach up to the sixth gate? We go back a little bit. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments in this verse the word tasmin, which means therefore passing through 6 walls with gate, which is very much the verse I read, 27. Right? So they did not have any attraction to the gates previously or to whatever the opulences were offered in the previous 6 gates that they had crossed. There was a lot of beautiful forms. There was a lot of beautiful smell, beautiful fragrance. There was a lot of beauty. There's a lot of different opulences of the Supreme Lord were there. And they were experiencing all of that with their purified senses because they were pretty pure personalities. But the interesting thing is that Kumaras were not attracted to any of the opulences of the Lord. Why? Because they were Atmaramas. Right? But once they entered through the gates, they were experiencing a joy, a kind of happiness that they had not experienced before, even being Atmarama in the Brahmananda stage, which means that they were situated on Brahmanda, on Brahman, and they were experiencing great happiness and great joy. But here they were experiencing something which is described as Paramananda, even superior to the kind of joy they had experienced. So they realized, this place is far superior to Brahman, which we are used to experiencing, being completely detached from the material world, detached from body and senses. Right? So then even though they were fully detached, it is said here that they were completely fully detached. Even then, the word used here is they actually did not have any attraction for whatever was being presented to them up to the 6 gates of Vaikuntha. So therefore, they were detached, so there was no need for them. They weren't going there with a mood to enjoy, even though so much of spiritual sense enjoyment were there on offer. They were not so much attracted to it. They had a mood to want to hear and to get to have darshan of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, there was no need to stop them up to the 6th gate. But the 7th gate signifies bhakti, devotion. And had the Kumaras been pure devotees, they would have passed through. But because they weren't, they were stopped. So due to the absence of Shuddha Bhakti within their heart, right? And also due to the absence of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion in their heart, they also kind of noticed the lack of peaceful, transcendental countenance on the face of the Kumaras. Because they were also a little bit like that, and therefore when they were stopped, they actually became angry. But even prior to that, they had noticed that things are not quite the same here. So would you say that this was a characteristics of Vaikuntha? No, obviously this was being orchestrated by Yogamaya. This was obviously being done by Yogamaya. So after crossing the seventh gate, which required bhakti, which they couldn't, and they could not enter, so therefore they were stopped. Huh? So in this verse, it is said that after, it is said ataha saptamayam, which means that after they tried to cross the seventh gate, ataha saptamayam, right, which means that acharyas are saying that something else unfolded. What is unfolded here is very interesting. The so-called detachment of these sages that have endured for so long and for which they were very famous in the material realm got lost. So the virakti, the detachment, right, that they were so much known for. They didn't want to get married, they didn't want to grow, they didn't have any attraction for anything, even up to the sixth gate of Vaikuntha, nothing was attractive to them. But what happened here, the detachment for which they were quite kind of, some of the big achievement they had, their detachment was lost. And this is the incredible power of Vaikuntha and the environment of Vaikuntha and Lord Vishnu's incredible power. So due to this also, the two gatekeepers who were previously not obstructing anyone crossing over the seventh gate, they put their staff forward and they stopped the four boys. Because the gatekeepers did not regard the Kumaras as devotees, they objected to them entering. So they were acting very properly. They were acting as they should. But the verse here, ataha saptamaya, which means ataha means thereon, following henceforth, something else unfolded. And what unfolded is the two gatekeepers were best of celestial persons. They were deserving of respect. They were especially when the Kumaras were only humans coming from the material realm. And the two maces were kept in the hands of the gatekeepers, which means that they had authority and they were authorized and they were wearing very beautiful garlands, which you will hear later on, Vanamala, which means that they were properly recognized, the status were properly recognized. And they wore, as we described here in this verse, they were adorned with beautiful kirata helmets and kundala earrings, and they were properly adorned with valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, and they were of the shining color of Lord Vishnu. So they were actually proper inhabitants of Vaikuntha with all the regalia and everything that was the norm there. So Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, and he says, the four boy sages who had nothing to cover their bodies looked to be only 5 years old. In fact, they were the eldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. Prabhupada explained that it was the doorkeepers who possessed an unpalatable demeanor, which caused them to dare to block the Kumaras' entry by crossing their staff on the entry path. Prabhupada states that the sages did not deserve to be stopped in this way. Such treatment of the Kumaras was uncalled for. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments a little bit differently. And he says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the exalted Kumaras were forbidden entry by Jai Vijay, but he emphasizes that the way they were stopped was very inappropriate. So there's so much nuance. There's so much nuance that the way they were stopped was not very nice. Prabhupada said, no, okay, they shouldn't have been stopped. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, well, maybe they should have been stopped. But the way they were stopped, so this lila, these pastimes, is a lot of churning going on among the acharyas, and we're just, bringing them up for our, for our pleasure, for the pleasure of the devotees. So, so blocking their way, crossing their staffs were a bit harsh. You know, say for example, someone comes to the temple and you don't want them entry. You can just say, Prabhu, please, can you just come this side? We'll have a small chat, we'll have a talk. You're not going to just say, okay, we're going to be like bouncers at an entry of the temple. Or, you know, you can't act like that. So we should not saying, no, 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 wait a minute. The way they were stopped, not quite right. And he said the two gatekeepers seem to have lost their divine nature and attitude. So why all this is happening at the seventh gate of Vaikuntha? Is everything arranged by Yoga Maya according to the Lord's desire? So it seems. Why did the doorman object to the entrance then? Weren't they glorious? Weren't they very famous? Their greatness was recognized by Lord Shiva. The greatness was recognized by great personalities. And the gatekeepers thought that the boys were proud because of Brahmagyan. Oh, you know, big time thinkers, big time speakers, big time jnanis. So the gatekeepers therefore showed natures unfavorable to the Lord. He's saying, you know, we are Brahmanas. The Lord is very nicely disposed toward Brahmanas. But the way you two are acting as if you're not in sync with the desire of the Supreme Lord. So these were the comments that was made. So the sages had gone inside so far only by their own brilliance, tejas, jnana, renunciation, their nature, absence and false ego. Answering to all of that, it is said the power of the Lord Maya has made their character and their conduct, which was usually centered on the Lord's service and desire, but not completely fructified because they were just Brahmagyanis. So we will see and learn, I'm sticking to this verse, you will see and learn that actually the Lord came hurriedly to try to de-escalate the situation that will ensue in text 27, 28. He will come very quickly, even holding Garuda. I said Garuda was also coming very fast there and said, Garuda, just wait on, let me deal with this myself. And therefore the Lord acted very much like Vishwaguru, that is explained in text 26. So this is so far I can go in the verse without stepping on to the next verse. Grandharaja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shishinita Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Of course, as always. Wow. I am thinking how I could enroll in that systematic study of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
It's in Creole, Sahadev. You will not understand a thing.
We'll see.
Well, we can get an English one going. Some devotees from Dubai and India asking. So,
okay.
man, so when we get that going, that will be 2 days in a week or 1 day in a week.
Okay.
Anyway, carry on. Yeah, how can I help the devotees?
Well, dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Prabhu Jai. Hare Krishna. Good to see you.
But yeah, I haven't seen him for a while too, because I've taken a holiday from my classes. I'm starting Tuesday. Yeah.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah. Good. Well, Prabhuji, I have a question from the purport. Srila Prabhupada was describing the residents of Vaikuntha. And Srila Prabhupada said that all the residents of Vaikuntha have the 4 symbols that Lord Narayan holds: the conch, the Padma. And I'm wondering, is that symbolic or it is really actually something the residents carry in their arms? And if they carry those things in their hands, how then do they use their hand for anything else? Taking in my understanding, being in this material world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a logistical question. It's a logistical question. The first thing is, yes, they carry the symbols in their hands, but doesn't always mean that you that is like representational. Doesn't mean that you cannot do anything else, that your hands are always occupied. Because there's one thing also about the limitations of this material body doesn't apply, and we cannot extrapolate the limitations we have on our material body and our working and knowledge acquiring senses to the same limitations that the inhabitants of Vrindavan or Vaikuntha have. So they have other abilities that is not exactly limited by our logistical sort of and our physical limitations here. So we have to understand that there the situation is quite different. No, I wouldn't say just slightly, but quite different. And it is said that the living beings can do different activities with the different senses. Just to give you an explanations, not exactly saying, okay, how do they do something with the hand? Obviously, logistically speaking, they will have to put down the mace or and then use the hand. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that the spiritual world is a different magical world. It is not running exactly according to the rules of, usage and geometry as it is in this material world. That's one thing. And the other thing is that the four symbols of Lord Vishnu that is carried also by the other jivas, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, are not exactly like the symbols that is carried by Lord Vishnu himself. Because those symbols of Lord Vishnu are actually servants of Lord Vishnu, and they're considered to be personalities with with consciousness. And in Ramanuja Sampradaya, or something in the south, where they worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi with great fervor, it is said that the symbols of the Supreme Lord actually appears as different incarnations. For example, the Kushtuba Mani of the Supreme Lord appears as Maharaj Kulashekara, or the Sankha Chakra and Gada and Padma, they appears as different personalities to propagate the glories of the Supreme Lord. So yes, but the symbols carried by the different other living beings are not exactly the same as the symbols carried by Lord Vishnu himself. Even though symbolically speaking, yes, it looks like Sankchakra, Gada, and Padma, these four things. But the one carried by the Lord is slightly different. And what also distinguishes the Lord is that he has Srivatsa. He has a tuft of white hair here, which signifies that his chest is the abode of Lakshmi, which others don't have. And there's distinguishing feature. And obviously the way they are dressed is not identical. So why? Because there are desires of the living entities to have Swarupa Mukti and Swarupya Mukti, which means there's out of the 5 types of Mukti, which is Sayujya, Shashti, Samipya, Chalukya, then Swarupya, which means that some living entities want to have the same form as the Supreme Lord. So therefore they are given this type of bodies. But it is not just like everyone is like that. But there are devotees who wanted this kind of Swarupya Mukti, they get the same form of the Lord, or given a form resembling the Lord. And other living entities are given Samipya, which means they have proximity with the Lord, but they may not have the same form. Obviously, the ladies in Vaikuntha do not carry the 4 symbols. Obviously, the birds and the bees and the cranes and the peacocks that is described here in this chapter 15, they don't carry those things, but they're also devotees of the Lord. And there may other categories of devotees who also don't carry. So it is related to those who have the desire for Swarupya Mukti, which means having the same form as the Lord. Yeah. But other living entities may have the desire to be on the same planet as the Lord, Salokya. And some of them may have the same opulence as the Lord, Sarshti, and therefore so on and so forth. So it's not limited just to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, I understand these for Kumaris were initially impersonalists. But here in the paper, Srila Prabhupada describes that they were so eager to meeting with the Supreme Lord, to see the Supreme Lord, that even when they passed through the 6 gates, which were all beautifully decorated. They did not even bother to care about the decorations. Their whole attention was on the Supreme Lord. Was this at a point when they had, as I heard, the mercy of the Supreme Lord's Tulsi garland? At what point did they have this desire to go to Vaikuntha? Because they were originally impersonalists.
You see, in the first part of my discussions, I presented that, but it's good to be reminded that they had developed a certain desire. Even though they were satisfied, they were Atmarama, like you said, they were impersonalists. But impersonalist, one thing I just want to caution one point here. Impersonalist does not necessarily means offensive to the Lord. Because impersonalist doesn't necessarily means Mayavadis. Impersonalist means that they were understanding the first aspect of the absolute truth being impersonal. And the absolute truth fully explained and understood according to Srimad Bhagavatam in text 1 to 11, which is explained by Sutta Goswami. He says, Vadanti tat tattavidas tattam adhyanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyate. Those who are the seers of the truth have concluded that the absolute truth can be understood in three stages as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So these boys, they had full understanding of the spirituality or the Brahman aspect of the Supreme Absolute Truth. They had no knowledge of Paramatma, they had no knowledge of Bhagavan. But being situated in Brahman, which is not different than Krishna, but his impersonal aspect, because he's one of the aspects of the Supreme Lord, he is also this Brahman. And therefore, they were Brahmagyanis, or they were absorbed in Brahmajyoti, or they were absorbed in this Brahman aspect of the Supreme Lord, which means that they had preliminary understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth's third feature, his impersonal aspect, not his Paramatma aspect, not his personal aspect, but his third feature, which is not complete, but is still, therefore, that gave them immense joy. They gave them complete detachment from material world, gave them incredible knowledge, because Brahmagyanis are incredibly powerful Gyanis, they're very knowledgeable. But like I pointed out earlier, Prabhu, they were not attracted to service of the Lord, so they were not bhaktas. So therefore, why do they go there? How do they end up going there? Because they were listening to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, being a devotee, had been talking to them about the Supreme Lord. So they had developed that desire and certain level of jigyasa, in inquisitiveness, and certain desire and interest to go and meet with the Supreme Lord, right? But when they reached all the way, that's why I detailed these steps, they reached there, they weren't quite a devotee. They weren't quite a devotee. Now your question was second part, well, the smell of the tulsi, right? You will see Tasyara Vinda, there's a verse that will come, Tasyara Vinda Nayanasya Padara Vinda Kinjalka Mishra Tulasi Mukaranda Vayu. That when Lord Vishnu heard about this kind of a mishap happening at the seventh gate between some very powerful Brahmanas and his two doorkeepers, he got wind of this. Lord Vishnu just was rushing down so that he didn't want the incident to escalate, because already within that few moments, things were really heated up. And there was cursing and counter-cursing going on. And Lord Vishnu just rushed in there. While Lord Vishnu was rushing in there, the tulasi that was mixed with chandan, that was offered to the toenail of Lord Vishnu, was carried by the whiff, by the wind. And that beautiful fragrance of the body of the Lord, mixed with the chandan and the tulsi offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, right? And that was actually what caused the incredible transformation in the mind and the heart of the four Kumaras. So therefore, I will get the verse for you. I'll get the verse for you. Can you look it up? Okay, I'm look it up on my phone. It's much easier for me. Tasya Aravinda Nayanasya Padaravinda Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu. Tasya Hara Tasya Aravinda Nayanasya Nayanasya Tasya Aravinda Nayanasya Makaranda Vayu. Let me find it. Okay, 43, text 43. Put text 43, will you please? I'm just looking for it.
The text again.
You can put text 43
of text 43 of chapter
of the same chapter, 15,
Oh.
chapter 15.
Okay.
Okay.
Text 43. Oh, I found it.
Okay. I had reached, yeah, there you are. Okay. All right, beautiful. Here you are. So here it is said, Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda kinjal kamishra tulasima karanda vayu antargata savivarena chakaritesham shangshobhyamaksharam jushamapichita tanvo. Okay, the translation. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. The word is mishra, means mixed. Sanskrit. Prabhupada has translated it very nicely. So when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves, which is mixed with the toes of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that breeze, which is the fragrance of the Lord's body mixed with the fragrance of tulsi offered to the lotus feet of the Lord with chandan, that whole thing, Kinjalka Mishra. Mishra means mixed. Makaranda Vayu. Vayu means the breeze, right? It entered the nostril of the sages. Oh, they experienced a change both in body and mind, which means the consciousness changed. So this is the whole verse of Atmarama, because they became changed because of the quality of the Supreme Lord. Whereas Brahman doesn't have quality. In Brahma Jyoti, people don't experience qualities of the Supreme Lord. So when they entered Vaikuntha, they were generally appreciative of everything. Yes, very happy to want to go and find out the Lord. So why does it say that they were not attracted to this fragrance, to that fragrance, to this color, to this beauty? They were just completely happy in themselves. So unless they get something that is superior in attraction, their mental stability cannot be disturbed. So all these things did not disturb the mental stability. But when Lord Vishnu was rushing in, the flavor, the fragrance of Lord Vishnu's toes was enough to disturb their mind. The beauty, the fragrance of Lord Vishnu was enough to cause an incredible imbalance in their psyche. And therefore it is said in this verse, right, that the fragrance entered the nostril and they experienced a change in body and mind. So there, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding, and what happens then after that? They became transformed. And then further on, the Lord appeared. They already had a transformation a few seconds before the Lord appeared because of the fragrance. Then the Lord appeared. And then, wow, he was like a beautiful jasmine blossoming flower. In the next verse, it goes on. And they completely became a devotee. At that point, they become devotees. Because for them, they were pure. And let me give a very vivid example so you can understand how is that happening for them. You know, if me and I'm just a lowly person. My consciousness is contaminated with so many things. So if I see a beautiful deity of the Lord, it creates a little bit of an impact on me, but it doesn't make me become a pure devotee, right? But because I am filled with so many material inebrities, if you take a glass of water, and in the glass of water, it is not completely clean. It has soil, it has dirt, it has leaves, and so many things. And then you take another glass of water, which is completely clean. If you add a drop of red dye, just a speck of red dye or yellow dye in the dirty water, you won't see much change. But if you drop it in the clean water, you will see a massive transformation. So the four Kumaras were like the clean water. There was no material inebrities. And once the quality of the Lord entered their heart, both the smell and then the vision of the Lord, they were like knocked out by the beauty, by the fragrance, by the whole sensual experience of the Lord's spiritual qualities. And therefore they transformed and they became some of the greatest devotees.
Beautiful. We've been talking about the beauty and the qualities of the Lord in the past verses. And of course, like you were speaking about yourself, I am like the most useless individual. I am. I'm not speaking like this as like showing to be humble or whatever, but in reality, I'm very useless. But I seem not to have so much affinity to the form of Lord Narayan as I do for the form of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. I do not know whether it is due to, some people may say, brainwashed from studying Srila Prabhupada's books, where Lord Krishna, when he was interacting with Arjuna, he revealed his universal form, he revealed the Vishnu form, and Krishna himself told Arjuna that this form right here before you is the best one to concentrate on. So, I mean, all these things somehow probably make me have some sort of love and affinity to that form. But what about in my original spiritual consciousness? I am a lover of Lord Narayan in one of the Vaikuntha forms, but here I am, because I have not developed to anywhere, that form is not so much attractive to me. So my simple question is, even in our Nitya Swarup, whichever form of the Lord that is like our beloved form, could that be changed? Or it will always be the same? If it is Lord Ram, who is my beloved Lord, he is always going to be like that. It's not going to be Lord Chaitanya. It's not going to be Nanda Krishna. Is that how it works, or it can change from time to time?
Well, the explanations from the Shastra is that once you have the Sthai Bhava, which means you have all the ingredients for developing a relationship with the Supreme Lord established, and you develop that rasa, which means you develop the the fixed relationship as a servant or as Sakya, as friend or as lover, or so on and so forth, then that becomes your eternal identity, because that's where that was your previous uniform, which you had hung up and come down. So you attain that in that sense speaking. So therefore, but it is said also, other acharyas have also commented that even though you're completely satisfied in your service and you're perfectly situated, because the spiritual world, there's no anxiety, troubles, and this and that, a certain category of devotees you develop, because it's a question of development of relationship. It's a question of development of relationship. But also because of the high reverence in Vaikuntha planet, it's not that you will seek to get much higher than development of the relationship with Lord Vishnu. So it is not the rule, but some exceptions are there. That's what we have discussed in my studies with devotees. Some exceptions may be there, because in the story of Kumar also we find that some exceptions may be there where devotees seek to develop further their relationship with the Supreme Lord to some higher level of realization and therefore personality and devotion to those personalities. But that's not always a rule, but that's kind of the exception. Because generally, when you reach Vaikuntha or you're a servant of Lord Ram, you're happy. If you're a servant of Lord Nrsingadev, then you're perfectly situated. And if you're a servant of Lord Vamandev, you're perfectly situated. So that's not generally the rule. But because the possibility is reciprocal, the possibilities are offered reciprocal to the devotee's desire. And if the desire is motivated for extra service, and the desire is motivated by doing more to pleasing the Supreme Lord, then the Lord cannot say, no, I'm satisfied, don't do more for me.
Well, thank you. Mitravinda, are you still in the house? Because Mitravinda had something in the chat room. She was saying, it seems that
Where is Mitravinda?
the issue is not what was done, but how it was done. So it's a great message in this Leela for us as servants. It was not what was done, but how it was done. I guess she's referring to Jai Vijay and the four Kumaras.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice
Also,
lesson.
I'm sorry. It's also about how we do things. Are we doing it the way it should be done, in accordance with our instructions, our path, our lineage, our processes? Or are we doing it in accordance with our emotions, our traumas, our things that make us do it in a way that's not the way it should be done? It's not how things are done. It's not what is done. It's how it's done. That leaves a taste that's either sweet or bitter. And we should be doing things in a way that honors our instructor.
Yes, I mean, it is a reflection of our own impurities, no? Because you can only jump from where you are at. So you cannot, if you're standing where you're standing, you can only take it from where you are at. So the Kumaras were at that level of Brahman realization, no attraction for anything else. So therefore, they had to take it from where they are at. They are on the highest platform of non-identification with the body and the senses. They're on the highest platform of Brahman realization. They're on the cusp of attaining full realization of Bhagavan. So they take it from there. Whereas for mortals like myself, I take it from where I'm standing, and I'm standing in the modes of material nature. So if I'm very much affected from the modes of passion, I will react to everything, even in relationship to devotional service, from that modes, and I will try to kind of shed away these modes. And, I cannot act from where I'm not standing, but these Kumaras were standing at a very high level of spiritual attainment, and therefore they were being taken and shaken from there, whereas where we are standing, we'll be taken and shaken from where we are. We
Well,
cannot
thank you.
falsely or pretentiously act like them. We will only act from where we are standing at.
Mhm.
Thank you. Nice comment, at least,
Yeah.
Mitravinda Mataji.
Yeah.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you so much. Anyone else with something to share or to ask?
Yeah, one or two last questions, and then we can.
Yeah.
Look at the picture, please.
What is the picture? If you may, I saw the picture. I see. If you may explain what it is.
Where is that picture?
It is a
What picture?
15
I don't see any picture.
It's a 15th century carving in sandalwood of Jai Vijay. They say that it's most likely from a South Indian temple. I found it at a yard sale last year and gave a donation.
Oh, so it's your property. You have it. I thought
It's
it was
sandalwood. It's
I am
sandalwood.
theirs. I am theirs.
It smells
Yes.
nice, eh?
It's amazing. They are amazing. It's a 15th century. The archivists say it's more than likely 15th century, and it landed over here by a curator. They say it's South Indian.
Mm. Yeah, sandalwood carvings are nice. They're kind of light colored, and they smell very nice. Before we used to have carvings from sandalwood, but I think it's kind of banned from India anymore. You cannot have carvings from sandalwood exported anywhere. So you're lucky to have.
Yes, this I don't again a curator had it and passed, and she gave it to a lady, and it ended up in a yard sale. And so again, it's Jai Vijay. Jai Vijay.
Nice. Yes. All right. Thank you. Hari Chakra Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Please, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, all glories to you, all glories to Prabhupada, and all glories to the assembled devotees. Well, about the question Mitravindra Mataji asked, I was thinking she was referring to the comments you made about one of our childs who was talking about the way the Jai and Vijay blocked blocked them. So when I saw the comment Mitavinda Prabhu put there, I was thinking it was she's talking about the way Jai and Vijay blocked them, how they blocked them, and not actually the act itself, but the way they how they do it. If so, Mitavinda can clarify it if that was what she was referring to, because it looks as if the way you answered the question is different from the way I'm thinking. So, Mitavinda,
can you clarify?
Can you?
Exactly.
You're breaking. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, she says exactly. So I guess what she is saying is
we can only act from where we are. But
okay. I get it. Yes. Of course. But that is also a reflect. I understand that point. But also it is reflected
what we're doing,
on
but how
where
we're
we are
doing
at. We are at and how we are situated in the modes of material nature. Because also they were influenced by certain discountenance, and therefore they acted according to that. So yes, we can act, but you're not always like in terms of the Leela of the Supreme Lord and something happening at the seventh gate of Vaikuntha, which is under the control of Yoga Maya, and the desire of the Supreme Lord is very much in the fore, then everything is controlled by Yoga Maya and is controlled by of course, the desire of the individual jiva is also there. But it seems, according to the acharyas here, that there is a certain amount of control of Yoga Maya, a certain amount of control of the desire of the Supreme Lord, which is impacting this incident to happen. So it is quite quite a way off from where we can be influenced by that level. Of course, it's, yeah, definitely the way you do things is, it's, you can say no to someone and you can say it with anger and with a desire to hurt, or you can say it no as a matter of fact and in a nice way. Yes, of course, that's natural. The way we say things has an impact on people. We can refuse someone something, and the way we do it can break the whole relationship. Or we can refuse something to someone, and the way we do it can just make everyone laugh. And it's not, it's natural. Yeah, of course. That you can draw that conclusion. You can draw that conclusion from that lila. Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard in the air that you've accepted oftentimes the thankless service of being an initiating guru. And if that is true, we would like to extend and express our appreciation and thanks.
I'm just the same. I'm going to carry on being the same. I've actually in a process of applying for sannyas. Whether that goes through or not, I'm not so sure. I'm dependent on Krishna, and
Okay.
I've applied for sannyas, yes, and
Okay.
I'm officially Vanacari, and but my services all remain the same. I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not so inclined in the path of giving whatever. I'm trying my best to give this knowledge and to teach people Shastra. But as far as taking on the service of Diksha, initiating Guru, is never crossed my mind. And I don't think and I don't feel I will ever be one, nor do I want.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the clarification. But ever since my good stars helped me to come to know you, to me, you've always been a living like a sannyasi. And so it will be much nicer if you formally accept that role. But whether it is formal or informal, you're already playing that role and playing it so beautifully. And I must say, I'm thankful to have you as my mentor for all these years. It's been so helpful in my devotional life. And I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to the Vaishnavas for making such an arrangement.
Thank you very much for the appreciation.
I'm not speaking this way because we are here, and sometimes, or I should say oftentimes, in public, people speak nicely just to make things so decoratively beautiful. But from the bottom of my heart, you've always been so important person in my life. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the sentiments, Prabhu. As far as application for sannyas and whether it goes or not, I depend on Krishna, but also whichever way, my preferred service is teaching, and my preferred service is studying, being a student of Srimad Bhagavatam and sharing and Bhagavad Gita. And lately, I am trying to make some effort to increase my service in this line. So it won't make much difference to me. I'm just going to carry on. And the teaching requires a little bit more this steady application, steady schedule. So it's quite fine.
Yeah.
And not moving too much. A sannyas may require moving a lot, and so on and so forth. So it might compromise a bit more service. But on the other sense, if I do attain the stage of sannyasa ashram, I might, because this is generally the case, you might be able to address more people.
Yeah.
But otherwise, service is service. It's according to Krishna's desire. So that's of no consequence. So thank you for the appreciation. Harichakra Prabhu has his hands up. We can maybe take a last questions and move on.
Yeah. Archakra Prabhu, is this a new hand up or the previous hand up?
Okay.
I
Hare
think
Krishna.
it was.
Yeah, it was the previous one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
So
Hare
we can
Krishna.
end
Hare
here.
Krishna.
I also like
Yes.
to recognize my friend Shriman Varahacharya Prabhu in
Yes.
there. Thank you, Prabhuji, and my humble obeisances, my respectful obeisances unto you. Nice to see you and
Hare
appreciate if you are there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Always think of you fondly. And we hope we can visit West Africa sometime.
Jai.
Plans are there. Some plans are there. It's in the plans are there. I've talked to Charudesha Maharaj and Damodar Maharaj, and maybe the plans will. I have to go to Europe in May, so maybe difficult in March, but the idea was in March or something. But I will see.
Okay.
If that happens, it happens. But definitely this year sometimes I will come to West Africa. Hare Krishna Prabhu, we end here. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna Jai. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all, with one heart, one love, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Advaita Krishna VANACARI, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all today. Please, you may all unmute. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama,
I don't have regular roses. I have this
Hare
mini one. Yeah.
Rama.
Whatever amount you want
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to our beloved speaker, His Grace Advaita Krishna Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Is it okay to take a picture or video for business? Oh, that is so beautiful.